It's Kimberly from RetroScripts here, and I wanted to answer a question that I've been asked quite a few times over the last few months. How did I come up with RetroScripts? It's a long story, but I'm going to shorten it for you. About 3 years ago, I was working at a long-term care home on a floor called the crisis floor. This was a place where the elderly would come and quickly transition to a new location. So whether they were going to another long-term care home, if they were going to another hospice, if they were going back to their home, it was just kind of a transitional unit, which meant we saw lots and lots of people come through. The difficulty with that is that people with Alzheimer's and dementia that were coming through wouldn't recognize us, and they're in a new place with new routine, and it just threw everybody through a loop. One lady in particular that I met, we will call her Ethel, was 98. She had Alzheimer's dementia, and she was a handful. Every day she would kick, scratch, punch, bite us. It was just one person had to always be with her, which is hard if you work in the healthcare. You know that there isn't enough of you to go around. So we had to watch Ethel very closely, and we had to follow her and make sure she didn't hurt anybody else. One day I was driving home from work and I was crying, not because I was hurt physically, but because it killed me that this great woman was projecting herself like this. Her family had told me that she was loving, that she was previously a teacher, that she loved her family, she was there for them through thick and thin, and it was breaking their heart to see her the way she was. I got home that night and I just started scribbling down on a piece of paper a piece of information that I'd been told about Ethel. So I got through her daily routine, which meant I wrote down, Ethel, today you're going to wake up, you're going to brush your teeth. After you brush your teeth, you're going to wash your hands. And it was just step by step of everything she needed to do that day. After this, I ended up actually meeting with her family coincidentally the next day and discussing a little bit of her background. So I found out that she had a cat that she loved but had to leave behind with a family member. So I got a picture of the cat and I wrote about her cat. I wrote about her son, I wrote about her daughter, I wrote about who she was growing up. And I put all this together into a notebook and I gave it to the family. The family actually ended up, which is a good idea, leaving it with us so that we could read it to her throughout the day. So every day, as soon as she woke up, we would read this book. I would read when she started getting aggressive. Anytime there was a change in her personality, her mood, I would read the book to her, and it instantly calmed her down. It was pretty neat, actually, to see the change. I know she wasn't necessarily remembering anything in the book, but I can't even tell you what it was. It was the feeling. You could see in her shoulders start to relax. You could see her smile, and she actually started following along with this book. After that, she never really had any instances of violence with us. I was never kicked or hit again. And I almost feel like there was a sense of joy that came from her when she was reading the book. After leaving the long-term care home, I started working at a hospice, which is an amazing job. I feel like I get to help people through their final kind of walk through life as a PSW and giving back. And it's so fulfilling, I can't even begin to tell you. Outside of the hospice, though, I met a lady who was dying of cancer. When I started talking to her, I went in with the idea that she's probably afraid to die. It's a very naive idea on my part. I shouldn't have gone in with that thought, but I was kind of taught a lot through talking to her. I kind of said, I'm so sorry that you are going through this and that you're so afraid and you're having so much anxiety. And she said that she wasn't afraid to die. She was actually welcoming it. Her cancer had taken a toll on her body. She wasn't who she was in the past. But she did say that the thing causing her so much fear and anxiety, and which was making her death difficult, was the fact that she had all these memories. She was a person and she wanted to leave behind her messages, her inspiration, her motivation. She wanted to leave that for her family and didn't know how. After talking a little bit more with her, I convinced her to sit down with me, and I jotted little stories that she wanted to tell her daughter, but never had the opportunity to. In her mind, and in mine as well, her daughter knew her from when her daughter was born. So when she was 30, she had her daughter. Her daughter didn't know anything about her past, all the little crazy things that she did, the things that make her her. So we jotted all these stories down into a little book, and I took her pictures that she had and just taped them to the piece of paper. I gave it to her and I said, you can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to give it to your daughter. If it was therapeutic just to get it out, then that's perfect. She decided that she did want to give it to her daughter, and I didn't speak to her for about a month. I wanted to give her time to work through all of her issues. When I did contact again, she had passed away, but I was told that her death was so beautiful. She had continued on with the journaling and had left a package for her daughter that had messages and meanings, just who she was. And it honestly touches me because I can't imagine thinking about being in that position, knowing you're going to die and just having so much to say, so much to share with the world, and not having the opportunity to actually do with it. I'm happy to say that the daughter did read the book, and it's one of her most treasured possessions now, because she can read and see that, yes, her mom also crashed a car. Her mom had crazy drunken nights dancing on the bar. The things that she's now going through, her mother did too. So there's lessons and meaning. I took this information from the long-term care home and from the hospice and from meeting this amazing woman. And I thought to myself that people's lives are important. The messages, the experiences we have, there's no reason that they need to all die with us. We need to share that with the upcoming generations and with each other. Thinking more and more about it, I could not get it out of my head. I'm all about stories and people's life stories. So RetroScripts was born. At first, I started writing books for people with Alzheimer's and dementia and for people at the end of life. And I love doing that. But a friend of mine commented and said, well, why start at the end when there's so much life at the beginning? It really resonated with me, and I thought to myself, hey, she's right. I do need to write more stories. So I now do books for people who are about to have a baby. I do wedding books. I do family history. I just write. I love my job. I get to wake up every morning excited to find out what I'm going to do on social media, who I'm going to talk to today, lots of little things. How it works is I sit down with a person or their family, and I actually voice record your entire life story, everything. Who you were growing up, what you're like, if it's for your wedding, how you met your loved one, everything's included. I then take that voice recording and I transcribe it onto the computer and I write it all out. I then ask you to send me your pictures, whether it's hard copies that I'm going to scan into the computer and clean up a little bit, or your images, and I create a bound book. This is an example of one of the books. I'm just going to hide the name there that I've created, and as you can see in it, it has all of her information and all of her family pictures in it. This part's from 1945. So whether you decide to do your book in chronological order, or if you decide that you want to do your book just on the highlights of your life that has happened so far, if you're doing a baby book, maybe we're going to start from the day of conception. It's up to you, to be honest, what you do with your book. While creating people's books and working on it, I realized that I had messages of my own to share with everybody. And I'm going to do another video that goes more into that at a later date. But I did want to share that I ended up starting workshops. So I have an 8-week workshop that's very therapeutic, and it's designed more for people that have maybe had a rough life. Maybe you have mental health issues, maybe you have cancer, or maybe you just want to take time to really delve deeper into your life. So during these 8 weeks, you meet with me twice a week for 2 hours, and we write your story. Whether it's over Skype or it's in person, it's totally up to you. I actually do workshops with groups of people, the first being the Manifest Your Future workshop. How that works is we meet, we all come together, and I provide all the resources. So I provide these canvas boards, cutouts of magazines. You bring with you anything that inspires you or that will resonate within your goal. So it's usually better if people come with a goal in mind of what they want to work through. But as you start cutting, some people kind of find that they have a different goal in mind that they didn't realize at first. And I'll go more into that on a later date, as I said. I did want to show you a finished board that I actually created myself. This is my 2018 goals. I have this hanging on my wall at home, and I check in with it regularly just to see if I'm really on the right track and using visualization, manifestation, and putting my intentions out into the universe to accomplish what I want to accomplish. My Manifest, Thrive, and workshop is a workshop that I do with people who are going through some kind of life difficulty. So I have worked with a lot of cancer patients. I've worked with people with mental health issues. I've worked with bereavement groups. I've worked with, you name it, I've worked with them. The boards that I do with the Manifest and Thrive are less about goals and more about how you're feeling, working through the emotional, the mental, the physical issues that you have when you have mental health issues, or when you have cancer, or when you're trying to lose 20 pounds, when you're trying to do anything in life. This is a board that I created when I was trying to just work through who I was. 4 years ago, I had a little bit of a snag, and I forgot that I was this badass, crazy, wild woman who had dreams and aspirations. That's just a little bit about RetroScripts. There's so much more that goes into it, and I truly love my job, and I look forward every day to helping somebody else, giving back, and just showing people that your life matters. Your life is important in the way you live it. If you're working at a desk job and you hate it, there's no reason why you can't start maybe planning for a better future. There's no reason that you can't become a landscaper. There's no, whatever you want to do, the world is your oyster. You just need to put it out there and go after it. With my books, I love watching families read their books for the first time and discovering information about their parents or their spouse or whoever that they never knew existed. It's heartwarming, it's eye-opening, and it just really brings it home to me even more that our lives are magical. Thanks for listening to me, guys. I could talk all day, as anyone that knows me knows. Check back in next week for another video. I love sharing information, and if you like hearing it, I'll keep doing it. Chat later.